Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to the podcast. Welcome back to the civil. Oh, wait, my mic isn't even in front of me. That's how professional I am. Let me restart this. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to the Civil Point Podcast. I am your host, none other than Ariana Dieva. And if you haven't already, you guys can go ahead and hit that subscribe button, as well as follow me on social media platforms listed below. But today, we have some big breaking news regarding the Epstein files, because a third batch of documents has dropped. And we are going to go through those documents right here, right now. So if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button. Let's get into it. I was on Twitter scrolling. I still call it Twitter, yes, because I don't want to call it X, because who likes Elon Musk, right? We don't want to give him credit. Twitter was Twitter when it was Twitter. Now it's just a landmine of MAGA hate-filled speech and rhetoric and racism, and it's just a trench of scum is what X is. But sometimes you can get some good information from there, like I got this morning. I woke up, I was scrolling, and I was like, oh, new Epstein documents release. Let's get into it. But I didn't want to get into it without going live, because I want to get into it going live. It's funner live. So let's get into it. So we're going to go ahead and get into it. Here we go. I feel like I'm not centered. I feel like I'm not centered. There we go. I feel centered now. All right. So let's get into it. The House Oversight Committee released new documents in regarding to Jeffrey Epstein's estate. It includes the names of Elon Musk, Peter Thiel, Steve Bannon, Prince Andrew. I think these are very notable names when it comes to the Epstein documents. And one thing I want to point out is that Prince Andrew, Steve Bannon, Peter Thiel, Elon Musk, guess who they all have in common? Guess. Oh, right. The rolling rotten orange. None other than old Scamander-in-Chief Donald Trump. Okay? So, one thing I don't understand is that if we are getting these documents with prominent names like Elon Musk, like Peter Thiel, like Steve Bannon, like Prince Andrew, that is not being redacted, why are we redacting Donald Trump's name from these files? Let's play it on an even playing field, right? But let's look at Elon Musk's name, because Elon Musk being mentioned is very prominent to me, because he's the one who spoke out about Donald Trump actually being in the Epstein files. And now he's in the Epstein files. Seems like a little bit of retribution in regards to the documents now being released after the fact. So let's get into this press release. This is from the House Oversight Committee. And let's get into it. Today, Democrats on the Committee on Oversight and Government Reform released partial records from the third batch of documents produced by the Jeffrey Epstein estate, which includes phone message logs, copies of flight logs and manifests for aircrafts, copies and financial ledgers, and Epstein's daily schedule. The documents produced to the public include mentions of possible contact between Jeffrey Epstein and prominent figures like Elon Musk, Peter Thiel, Steve Bannon, and Prince Andrew. Further review of the documents, which were redacted to protect the identity of victims, is ongoing, which is what they're saying. But at this point, I don't think if I was a victim, I would want my name out there. Want to know why? At this point, it's so public. It's so publicly accessible that I feel if something happened to a victim, we would all know the cause of death of that victim. So if I was a victim, thank God I'm not, and I'm not speaking for these victims. I'm just saying if I was in this situation, I would not care if my name is out there, because I want to get the people who tortured me and put me in explicit situations to be held accountable. So I don't care about protecting my identity. I care about actually putting out the facts of what happened to me and the evidence that proves it. So, in the third batch, the Oversight Committee received 8,544 documents responsive to the committee's subpoena from August. The following was received: phone message logs from 2002 to 2005, which were produced previously in litigation, copies of flight logs and flight manifests for aircrafts, including helicopters that Mr. Epstein owned, rented, leased, operated, or used from 1990 to 2019, copies of ledgers reflecting transactions recorded as cash transactions for Mr. Epstein and business entities. These documents were previously shown to the committee staff at in-camera review. Epstein's daily schedules between 2010 and 2019. Well, that is a lot of evidence. A lot of evidence that was produced. As well as documents that was produced. So if we are going to go into the documents here, we're going to go ahead and head on into the documents of this all, because they did provide the actual documentation. Let's see here. So we start off with what seems to be just a calendar schedule for Jeffrey Epstein here. So, reminder, blank in around 11:30 due to parent-teacher conference. Redacted name. To be determined, Joshua Bach. Who's Joshua Bach? Do we know anything about a Joshua Bach? Should we search the name Joshua Bach? And it's spelt differently, correct? It's Joscha. That's a cute way to spell it. I love how that name popped up. Who's Joshua Bach? Joshua Bach is a German cognitive scientist. Okay. If this is who he's talking about, which would maybe make a little bit of sense. Epstein was involved with high-power individuals in tech and science and everything like that. I mean, hence why Elon Musk is on the logs. But what do we know about Joshua Bach? I would assume this would be the Joshua Bach. Ooh, Bach AI. What's this? Yeah, here we go. He is a cognitive scientist and artificial intelligence creator. Let's see. Machine dreams, dreaming machines. Artificial intelligence provides a conceptual framework to understand mind and universe in new ways. All right, so he's just an artificial intelligence engineer. Okay, well, that doesn't seem too fishy, I don't think. So that's who Joshua Bach is. It doesn't seem... Oh, he has some books. Principles of Synthetic Intelligence, Homo, Monkey, and Cyborg's Nature. All right, well, Joshua Bach, I think he fits the mold of someone who Jeffrey Epstein would be involved with, obviously. So that is on 3 p.m. appointment with Andrew, Farkas, and Ben. We have 6 p.m. screening of Unbroken. Jeffrey plus 2 will attend. Who are those other 2, though? At the Rose Theater. When was this? It doesn't give like a date or time. Time Warner Center. Broadway at 60th Street. Cool, so that's that. So Friday, December 5th, 2014, he had a tentative breakfast party with Bill Gates, and he invited Ron Barron and Josh Harris. Who's Ron Barron and Josh Harris? That's a good question. Let's see if we search those names. Ron Barron and Josh Harris. Ronald S. American business person. Who's Josh Harris? It seems like, let's actually do this. Ron Bannon plus. I think we should just search this as this from now on. These people's names and Donald Trump. Right, no specific connection when it comes to that. But Ron Bannon is an American business person. Nothing too interesting about these people. Josh Harris is apparently an American investor. That's if these people are correct. Because you're just Google searching right now. But December 6th, reminder, Gregory Richards. This just seems like a schedule for Jeffrey Epstein. But this is a big one. In 2014, Saturday, December 6th, 2014, we have reminder, Elon Musk to island, December 6th. There was no confirmation of if this actually happened, and there was no confirmation on apparently Elon Musk's end, because there's a note saying, is this still happening? There was no confirmation between the two. But I think that is very telling when it comes to Jeffrey Epstein and who he associates with. If he's having even potential meetings with someone, that means there's an interest from Jeffrey Epstein to this person, aka Elon Musk. I think this is very big to have Elon Musk's name literally in the Epstein files. I think this is very big. So when we look more into regards to the schedule, I just would like to know what that meeting was about. What if we just search Elon Musk December 2014 or Elon Musk 2014? What do you think will pop up? What happened with Elon Musk in 2014? In 2014, Musk saw his influence grow as Tesla began breaking into the mainstream, delivering cars in China and Australia, and planning a gigafactory for batteries. He also warned of the potential dangers of artificial intelligence at an MIT synopsism and continued to develop plans for SpaceX. Additionally, Musk's role as a technology titan was highlighted during a question and answer session of the ONS 2014 conference. I guess that aligns up with my memory in regards to Elon Musk and Tesla really gaining recognition around that time, the growing of electric cars and things of that nature. But anything dramatic happened with Elon Musk in 2014? Doesn't seem so. I think everyone in 2014 was pretty supportive of Elon Musk. And since he went Trump MAGA saga baby over Donald Trump, it was just straight up, everyone hates him now. So, actually, I just saw something. Where was it? Wow, actually, that's perfect. Look at that. 2014, the year Elon Musk went mainstream. So that would align with now this appointment reminder. That would so align with it. Oh my God. So if you see someone developing technology, developing AI, developing electric cars, and you want in on that, and you want dirt on this person, you want to make sure that they fall in line with their endeavors, technology, and profits, and you want to control them, and you have control of literally high-ranking political officials and people throughout the entire world, why not take Elon Musk, invite him to the island, get him in a compromising position, so that way you can control, again, the profits and the margins, as well as the dictations of what happens with those companies that are looking to actually change the world. This actually so aligns up. So in 2014, Elon Musk went mainstream. In 2014, December 2014, he had an appointment with Elon Musk and Jeffrey Epstein, not just an appointment in New York City or an appointment in California, but an appointment on Elon Musk's private island, PDF Island. That is very effing weird. And that's very coincidental. 2014, Musk goes mainstream. And then he's invited to Epstein's private island. That way, Epstein can get any sort of dirt on Musk and control Musk and his technology. Makes complete sense. The stars are lining up here. Now, the question is, did Elon Musk actually attend that meeting? Did Elon Musk actually go to Jeffrey Epstein's PDF island? And was he caught in incriminating circumstances that now endeavored himself to Jeffrey Epstein? That's the big question. Do we have any confirmation of Elon Musk going to that island? And you know what will actually tell us that is flight records. Flight records from Jeffrey Epstein's estate. So, December 7th, he had to be determined. December 8th, he had some appointments from San Francisco and New York. Cool. Nothing really, anything. These names are redacted. So I don't understand why the from is redacted when I'm pretty sure a victim wouldn't be sending him any sort of emails. This is a physical email of calendar for him. So who is this from? Who is this email from on February 14th, 2019 at 9:34 p.m.? Who is this email from? Why are you redacting the name of someone sending him an email when it most likely is not a victim who is sending him his schedule and calendar? So this is where, again, it's a little bit weird when it comes to the redactions because they're protecting people other than the victims. They're trying to put out a story and a narrative that the victims aren't victims. The victims are the people who committed the crimes. It's insane. And who not only committed the crimes, but helped cover up the crimes. So, let's go into this. Here we go. So this is an email of Jeffrey Epstein calendar from someone unknown, redacted information. Rick Kahn on holiday, February back. So it's just kind of just 10:30 appointment redacted, 11 a.m. appointment redacted. A lot of this is just redacted information. I mean, I guess you can, oh, that's weird. Okay, so this is weird. This is odd. So with this email, it actually has appointments like haircuts and teeth cleaning for, I'm assuming, the victims that he groomed and went on sexual exploitations with. That is what I'm thinking this email is. That's weird. It's like he's using these girls as his play dolls, getting their teeth clean, getting their hair cut. What if they didn't even consent to this, which they highly likely that they didn't. What if they didn't consent to these actions of getting their hair cut, getting their teeth cleaned, literally being brought up like a Barbie, groomed like a Barbie for Epstein, as well as not Epstein, but probably even Ghislaine Maxwell, because we know she was in on it and included and enacted and took part in those, sexual things. And then as well as just other people, such as possibly Elon Musk. That's a big name in this. So he's over here setting appointments for teeth cleaning and haircut, which for what I assume is the girls that are the victims. And then on Saturday, February 16th, 2019, he had breakfast with Steve Bannon. And we all know Steve Bannon's name, correct? We all know Steve Bannon. If you need a refresher on who Steve Bannon is, let me look it up here. Steve Bannon, he was definitely associated with none other than Donald Trump. He is an executive and former White House chief strategist. And just look at this man. Look at this man. Just look at this man. Oof. Such an evil face. Evil face. There's no heart beyond those eyes. Gosh, just look at that face. Oh. Anyway, Steve Bannon, of course, someone else who is also associated with none other than Donald Trump, is mentioned in these files. This is insane. This is insane. And actually, it's not even that insane. Because, want to know why? If you are associated with Donald Trump, we can't be surprised when your name gets mentioned in these files. But my question is, what is Steve Bannon meeting with Jeffrey Epstein about? What's that conversation? What are they talking about? What happened in January of 2019 for Donald Trump? Let's take a look at this. January 2019, Donald Trump. We were heading into the 2020 election at that point. So in 2019, Donald Trump's presidency was dominated by the longest government shutdown in U.S. history, a prolonged standoff over funding for the border wall. Other notable events included the swearing in of the new Democratic-controlled House of Representatives and ongoing investigations. So in 2018 to 2019, that government shutdown was the longest lasted in U.S. history, or government history. Cabinet departures. The month saw several high-profile resignations, including James Mattis as Secretary of Defense and John F. Kelly as White House Chief of Staff. Fast food feast on... All right, well, nothing seems to be too crazy, but, I mean, I would love to know what that conversation was. And I can allege and assume that Steve Bannon went to that meeting. I mean, Steve Bannon is friendly with Donald. Not friendly, he is very close with Donald Trump. He was very close enough to be named the chief of staff, I think it was, right? Chief of staff? Yeah, chief strategist in Trump's first presidency. So it's just, again, weird. All these people aligned with Trump still meeting with none other than, you guessed it, Jeffrey Epstein. So again, the connections are just there. So we have 9 a.m. breakfast with Reed Weingarten. Reed Weingarten. Who is Reed Weingarten? Reed Weingarten. He seems to be a senior counsel. Senior counsel and attorney, Reed Weingarten. Well, makes sense. He's, in there meeting with his attorneys and stuff like that. Truther. Alright, well, it seems like nothing else is too 2017 parents by Reed Weingarten. Peter Thiel. Peter Thiel is also mentioned in that. Well, it makes sense. Peter Thiel, if we go ahead and look him up, he is a leader in tech as well. So let's go and look up that man. German-American entrepreneur and venture capitalist. Boom. Some people call him the Antichrist. And, I don't know who's the Antichrist at this point. There's so many evil people in our government. It's just hard to even kind of figure it out or try and decide or decipher who's the most evil of the evilest, because it's all just so evil. And then now we have documentation from Jeffrey Epstein's general ledger. This is just financials when it comes to Jeffrey Epstein. Of course, a lot of this is redacted out, and what isn't redacted out is that he went to, I guess, a yoga class. Yay, we need to know that. All of this is redacted. Redacted. Well, if you're going to give us information, don't give us redacted information. At least does it show amounts? Hold up. Let's see if it shows amounts. It does. Debt credit. So I'm guessing this is how much he paid. This is how much he got in regards to these ledgers with his financials. So he's sending quite a bit of money, but of course it's 5,000 there, 5,000 there. I'm guessing that's to the same person. From the same person. 5,000 again, 1,000 again, 2,000 again. This doesn't really tell us anything, unfortunately. This tells us nothing. It just tells us amounts that was sent out. And you can pretty much guarantee the amounts that were sent out being the higher grossing amounts that were sent out, such as the 20,000 and the higher, or the 5,000s continuously, or the 1,000 continuously, or the 2,000s that are continuously there, were most likely payments for accessing their victims. So there's nothing really we can tell from this other than the frequency of the financial amounts that were credited to Jeffrey Epstein. So I'm not really going to look into that. So another document that was released, the final one that was released, was Hyperion Air Incorporated. It is a passenger manifest. And honestly, I think they just need to not redact the names of people in these manifests. It does not make sense to me. What's your opinion? What is your opinion? Should we have redacted information? I understand and I agree to protect anyone that is a victim of Jeffrey Epstein and the people that accessed these victims. I understand the intention of redacting those names, but how do we know? How do we truly know that the names being redacted in these documents are names of victims? How do we truly know this? That's what I want to know. How do we truly know? Because I don't know. You don't know. The only people that know are the people that are redacting information. As we know, we can't trust the government at this point in time. So how do we know that the information they're giving us are truly redacted names of actual victims instead of their alleged victims that they're trying to cover up with the Republican Party? Get out of here. I don't know. But this passenger manifest, when we take a look at the passenger manifest, this is from May 12th, 2000. Arrival time 11:42. Where is this going? From a city in New Jersey to West Palm Beach, Florida. Isn't that funny? Didn't Donald Trump just mention Palm Beach, Florida, where he was like, it was a different time in the 90s in Palm Beach, Florida, where he essentially admitted to that he engaged in alleged crimes that would be considered crimes looking back nowadays versus when they were in the actual moment committing those crimes. Donald Trump literally sat there and said, it was a different time in the 90s. So he essentially incriminated himself to say, I did things that today would be looked at as criminal. That's what he said. But isn't it funny that this flight log mentions West Palm Beach, Florida? Let's see. This is just, gallons, blah, blah, blah. But what is most important is the names on the passengers list. The names on the passengers list include Jeffrey Epstein, obviously Ghislaine Maxwell. That girl is sitting in a low security prison right now because she made a deal to tell everyone that Donald Trump had no involvement, or as president, because I did a video on this. Her wording is very specific when she talks about Donald Trump. It scopes her actual questioning to his presidency rather than his entirety relationship with the president or Donald Trump in general. She specifically said, as president, I did not see the president actually engage in any criminal activities, thus keeping the scope to his presidency. So she didn't lie technically, but whoever fed her that line was very effing smart. But Ghislaine Maxwell on this flight, as well as Periling, don't know who that is, but you know who is a big name is Prince Andrew. Prince Andrew was on this flight, and I'm assuming, doesn't tell us where they were going though. Condition 253 takeoff. Yeah, it doesn't tell us where they were going. But one can assume they're taking that private jet or helicopter to Epstein Island, PDF Central Island. So just a lot of information in this. Of course, we have a lot of redacted information in regards to the financials, but when you look at the frequency of the financials, you can see these are multiple credits to Jeffrey Epstein, and Jeffrey Epstein accepted this money from whoever these redacted participants are in his financial records. And then even when you look at his debits, it's just grand amounts. And I'm very curious to know where those grand amounts and who received those grand amounts and what they were for. I'm pretty sure, especially, and you know what? Oh my God. You know what? Look at this. Look at this. All right. So this is all from the year 2000, if I can read that correct. I'm pretty sure that does not say the year 7000. Pretty sure it says the year 2000. But these are all checks received. Where are the actual checks? Because when I write a check, even though I don't really write checks, but when I first started my own financials, when I would write a check, there is a section in the notes of the check, right? And I would always put, this is for, I don't know, electricity. This is for phone bills, something like that. Now everything is just automatic and you do it through your phone. But when I used to use checks, and people who still use checks, because people come into my job and use checks, when they write a check, they would say this is for the establishment. So if someone's writing a check, what is the note on that check, and what is that check for? Why can't we have that information? And honestly, with the paper records of it all, being that it was in the 2000s, I'm 900% sure that in Jeffrey Epstein's estate, they would be able to find the actual documentations of the checks that were submitted and deposited to the bank, and find out the notes on each check to see what was deposited for that check. So, I mean, even if we look up here, this is a contrast here, but Donald Trump signed Jeffrey Epstein check. I want to see what this is, there's an image circulating about this. Here we go. So this is what I'm talking about. So in general, a check. So this is a check, right? Normal check. You have your date, you have your pay to the order of, so this would technically be to Jeffrey Epstein, the amount in dollars, the actual numerical amount, and then you have for, or sometimes it says note where it says number 7, right? Let me go on. Can I I can't zoom in. Why can't I zoom in on this? Here we go. Here we go. Boom. Okay, so where it says number 7, you have notes, correct? For some checks, it says notes. For some checks, it says for. And that's where it says talent show tickets, that's where it usually puts, this is denominated for an amount for this purpose, for this establishment, for this business, for this entity, for this person, for this reason. So being that it was the early 2000s, people continuously and meticulously wrote out why a check was being dealt to someone and cashed and debited from accounts. So why is it that we're only getting right now the redacted version of who these checks went out to. I think we should understand and know the names who this went out to. I don't think that all of this is redacted information from victims. I just don't. I don't believe it. It's impossible and very hard for me to believe that this is all victims being paid. I just don't. But yeah, I want to know the reasons why these checks were sent, and I want them to dig deeper and find out on the specific checks, being that it was in the early 2000s. I want to know the note and the for and the reasoning why these checks were sent or deposited or cashed by Jeffrey Epstein. Get to it, Department of Justice. Get to it, House Oversight Committee. We want to know. But yeah, I mean, these names aren't surprising. We had names of none other than Jeffrey Epstein, obviously, Ghislaine Maxwell, Peter Thiel, Steve Bannon, and most importantly right now, I think the biggest name of this is Elon Musk. Elon Musk, no doubt. It puts him in an incriminating stance that he met with Jeffrey Epstein, essentially a guardian of the gates of success in the high world of political activity, in the high world of actually making billions of dollars. And essentially, that was the year Elon Musk went mainstream and earned a lot of money that following year. So when you put the timeline together, you see completely that Elon Musk met with Jeffrey Epstein on Epstein's private island prior or during the height of his mainstream success when he started in 2014. So it's all very convoluted. It doesn't give us a lot of answers, but it gives us a little bit of insight when you line up the timeline of Elon Musk's involvement and association with Jeffrey Epstein versus the actual trajectory his career went after his meeting with Jeffrey Epstein. So, yeah, they said they released like 8,000 pages of documents, though. That's the thing. So I want to know why there's not 8,000 pages that I can go through right now. Why? Why can't I go through 8,000 pages right now? Because it says in the third batch, the Oversight Committee received 8,544 documents. Oh, they received them. That doesn't mean they're actually releasing them yet. But that doesn't mean they're not going to release them. But I think this is very big in regards to the names that were mentioned in these documents, especially being that of Elon Musk. And when you put the timeline together, it shows his mainstream success started in 2014, and after that it skyrocketed after his potential meeting with Jeffrey Epstein on Jeffrey Epstein's private PDF island. Put the math together. 2 + 2 = 4 in this instance. And it's just funny how everyone that is convoluted in this situation of the Epstein files is associated with the man who is sitting in the presidential office right now, attempting to be a dictator to the United States, none other than Don, the scam commander-in-chief, Donald Trump. Anyway, this is it for now. I think that this gave us a little bit of insight in regards to the documents and Epstein's private island and affairs, and I just want to know what those checks were for. You don't even have to give us names. You don't have to give us names. But if you can provide documentation of what those checks stood for, what they were sent for, that would be amazing. I'm sure there is physical copies of those checks in his files, in his estate. So get them. We want to know the reasoning for those checks and those amounts. So anyway, this is the end. I will talk to you guys on the next episode of the podcast. And then if you guys haven't already, you guys can always go ahead and subscribe and catch me every time I go live. I go live practically every day because every day there's practically breaking news about Condon, the Scamander-in-Chief, Cheeto Bendito, like, every single day. And yeah, I will always be covering all this information. And I'm pretty sure the wall seemed to be closing in a little bit on Condon, but he always somehow wiggles his way out. But I think we are at a point in this country where we need to understand facts matter. And the perception that you're being fed, the spoiled, lumpy, disgusting, smelly perception you're being fed is false. And MAGA needs to wake up to it. Anyway, this is the end of the Civil Point podcast. I will talk to you guys next time. I am Ariana Dieva, and you guys can subscribe. Bye.